Today, we're unpacking the timeless lessons and, honestly, some of the modern flaws of arguably the most famous wealth building philosophy of our time. We're looking at ideas from a 1997 phenomenon that literally sold over 40 million copies and completely disrupted how everyday people think about money. We'll break down the mindset gap between the rich and the poor, why so many folks are just stuck on this financial hamster wheel, and how you can actually apply these concepts today, completely stripped of the hype. So let's get into it. Right out of the gate, we get this stark contrast. Two completely different mindsets that basically define how we live our lives, framed around this classic tale of two fathers. On one hand, you have the highly educated, hardworking biological father who's always struggling to pay bills, the poor dad who thinks loving money is the root of all evil. And on the flip side, you've got the entrepreneur rich dad, a high school dropout who firmly believes that lacking money is the real root of all evil. It's not just a difference in their bank accounts, it's a fundamental shift in how they literally view the world. Part 1. The rat race trap. So we're taught from day one, go to school, get good grades, land a safe, high-paying job. But I want you to ask yourself, does a bigger paycheck actually mean freedom? Think about a friend who finally lands that massive promotion. What usually happens? Well, they buy a slightly bigger house, lease a fancier car, maybe take on more debt. They haven't really bought freedom, have they? They've just bought a much more expensive cage. They're still completely dependent on that very next paycheck. And that perfectly illustrates why the rat race is behavioral. It's not an income problem. The standard, totally exhausting path is just earn more, spend more. But true financial freedom, that only happens when you cross one very specific mathematical threshold, when your passive income finally eclipses your monthly expenses, when your money is out there working for you, so you don't have to work for it. That is literally the only way off the wheel. To really get why traditional advice kind of fails us now, we have to look back. Since the gold standard ended in 1971, money essentially became debt. So the old idea of just working hard and piling up cash in a savings account, it's completely obsolete. Honestly, it's a losing strategy. Because inflation is quietly destroying your purchasing power while you sleep. While the middle class tries to save cash, informed folks are learning how to use debt and taxes to build wealth. When governments are out there printing trillions, savers just get crushed and debtors get rewarded. Part 2. Rich versus poor mindset. Okay, so a crucial piece of this is just how you talk to yourself. Saying I can't afford it is a statement. And the thing is, it completely shuts down your brain. It just lets you off the hook. But if you ask, how can I afford it? That forces your brain to wake up. It forces you to innovate and solve problems. It turns a dead-end roadblock into a puzzle. And honestly, this one subtle shift in phrasing is often the dividing line between folks who stay stuck and those who actually find a way. And you see that exact same mindset applied to education and careers. While the middle class is training intensely to become, highly specialized employees seeking job security at a good company, the wealthy are playing a totally different game. They're studying how to become owners of the system itself. They don't want to work for the good company, they want to buy the good company. Which brings us to this massively important lesson, especially if you're early in your career. The second you take a paycheck, you run a huge risk of thinking like a dependent employee. Instead, the goal should be to work to acquire skills. Take on that cross-functional role. Learn how to sell. Learn how to read a profit and loss statement. Because working strictly for a paycheck keeps you dependent. But skills, like financial literacy, those are going to compound for the rest of your life. Part 3. Assets, liabilities, and cash flow. This one might ruffle some feathers. Back in 1997, telling an American family that their beautiful suburban dream home wasn't an asset was a completely revolutionary, disruptive idea. And honestly, it still upsets people today. But we have to look objectively at the cold, hard cash flow. We are just tossing out strict textbook accounting rules here. Let's keep it super simple. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Period. So if your 4-bedroom house costs you a mortgage, property taxes, insurance, and maintenance every single month, it's a liability. It's actively draining your cash flow, no matter if it might appreciate in value 20 years down the road. This is the grand illusion of the modern worker. Having a high salary makes you look rich, but it's totally an illusion if every single dollar you earn is immediately tied up paying off lifestyle expenses. The car loans, the big mortgages, the vanity goods. The wealthy focus entirely on acquiring income-generating assets, while everyone else is out there buying liabilities and falsely labeling them as assets. Part 4. Real estate and leverage. Now, this is where things get incredibly powerful. OPM, or other people's money. Real estate lets you use leverage in a way that stocks just don't. By putting down, say, a 20% deposit, you get to control 100% of an income-producing property. You get 100% of the tenant's rent, all the tax benefits, and all of the appreciation, all while the bank is literally financing the majority of your purchase. There are some precise vehicles folks use to escape the rat race, and each one takes a different level of capital and financial IQ. You might start with a single-family home. Super accessible, but hey, if your one tenant leaves, your income goes straight to zero. So maybe you eventually scale up to multifamily properties to spread out that vacancy risk. Or you might use the BRRRR method, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, to rapidly recycle your capital. The key here is just matching the strategy to your own reality and experience level. But listen, here is the absolute golden rule of this whole philosophy. Cash flow is the plan. Appreciation is just a bonus. If a property isn't producing positive net cash flow today, right this second, it's not an investment. It's a liability masquerading as an investment. Because you can't pay your grocery bill with potential future equity, right? You pay it with monthly cash flow. Part 5. The myth and the flaws. Okay, to be totally objective in this explainer, we have to confront the very real flaws in this 1997 advice. Because blindly following a 25-year-old book, that can get you into some deep trouble today. Consider that 7%. In a world where mortgage rates are hovering right around 7% and housing prices are super inflated, applying the massive, aggressive leverage they recommended in the 90s is incredibly risky. One bad tenant or one unexpected plumbing disaster on a highly leveraged property today can lead a beginner straight into foreclosure. We really have to acknowledge how drastically the landscape has shifted. I mean, institutional buyers dominate real estate now. It's just not the easy entry point it used to be. Plus, the original tone that employees are suckers totally ignores modern wealth vehicles like startup equity. And here's the biggest reality check of all. The rich dad himself? He was actually a fictional composite character created just for the narrative. So we need to be smart enough to extract the timeless mindset and just toss out the outdated, dangerous mechanics. Part 6. Your modern wealth blueprint. So what's the actionable modern blueprint? First, you've got to build your financial IQ, really understand accounting and market dynamics. Second, master your emotional control so you aren't panic selling or FOMO buying. Third, actually acquire those income-generating assets. But the fourth step is the crucial modern missing piece, building efficient capital storage. Holding idle cash loses it to inflation, sure, but you absolutely need liquidity ready to deploy when a real market opportunity strikes. Education has to precede leverage, and having capital safely compounding but accessible is literally just as critical as the investment itself. Remember, true wealth builders don't sit around complaining about the external economy or the government or whatever interest rates are doing. They focus on building their internal financial intelligence. Because when you master your internal economy, you can weather any storm and find opportunities no matter what the market is doing. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Just let this sink in before your next Monday morning alarm goes off. Are you working to earn, or are you working to learn how to build your empire? What game are you really playing here? Are you just running on the wheel for the next paycheck, or are you actively learning the rules of the system so you can eventually own it? The choice is entirely yours.